Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Chris. Welcome to LinuxTechGeek. So in today's video, what I want to do is I want to show you guys my NixOS configuration. I also want to discuss how I even got here on Nix, and I haven't installed Nix permanently. I do have it installed on bare metal. Okay, but I am dual booting between Gen 2 and NixOS right now. And I've got to say, I really, really like Nix. It's pretty fascinating. It's different, which is pretty cool because that allows me to learn something new. And of course, as a content creator, whenever I get to learn something new, that means I get to share it with you guys, which is what I'm ultimately trying to do, right? I've often said here on the channel that one of the hardest things for myself is coming up with ideas for videos. Now, I don't know how any other content creator feels about this, but for myself, this is a pretty big deal because I run out of ideas. I run out of ideas all the time. You guys know in some of the videos I have often said, hey, leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, or tell me some programs that you guys use, just stuff like that. And since switching over to NixOS, really, I've came up with some video ideas that I want to share with you guys. And we're going to do that in another video in another time. I do have some videos planned, so don't worry. But right now, I just want to show you guys my basic, I guess my basic configuration. I've done a little bit to it, and I do have, I have Flakes set up, I have Home-Manager set up, and yeah, I have my Git repository all set up. Everything is pretty much set up. If you don't know what flakes are, so flakes are a like version control system that you can use with NixOS, and it can talk to your main configuration file. It can also talk to Home Manager. And then what Home Manager is pretty much it controls your like your dot files. Okay, so those two things kind of work hand in hand. Now, I don't have it's not set up great. I'm sure some of you NixOS, people out there, I'm sure you're going to look at this configuration. You're probably going to be like, man, he could probably do a lot more. And you're right, I could do a lot more. But for myself right now, this is kind of where I'm at in terms of learning this stuff and trying to understand it, because NixOS, it's a strange Linux distro. Okay, the way it does everything is completely different than the way that any other Linux distro, except maybe Geeks or Gikes, however you say it, does it. I know Geeks or Gikes, they it does pretty much the same thing that NixOS does, but compared to where I was, like compared to Gen 2, for instance, right? NixOS is totally different. Or compared to Void Linux or Fedora or any of those other distributions. All right, so with all that talking to the side, let's go ahead and flip over to the desktop, and then I will show you guys what I'm running right now. I'll show you all my configuration files, and I'll try to explain it the best way I possibly can. Okay, so here we are. We on the desktop here. Now I am running Xmonad. Okay, a little TLDR or PSA or whatever. I tried to run Hyperland. I did. Okay. I know I'm going to get a comment down below that says, how come you're not using Hyperland? I tried, guys. I honestly did, because I really want to check out Hyperland for myself. The problem is I have a newer NVIDIA card. Okay. NVIDIA and Wayland is still kind of, some of the older NVIDIA cards work on Wayland. Some of the newer cards, however, does not work very well with Wayland. Unfortunately, my video card is a little too new for Wayland. Now, if NVIDIA ever got off their ass and they gave the open source community the source code to the proprietary driver for these NVIDIA cards, we would have Wayland support on every, NVIDIA card. But until they do that, or until we, the Wayland guys figure out a workaround or something, it's just going to be like this for a while. So I do want to say that, though, I did try to install Wayland. Or Hyperland and Wayland. All right. So I'm running Xmonad right now. This is X11. Okay. I am running Kitty. I got Kitty installed. Okay, and I got NeoFetch all set up. Got nerd fonts set up. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at my dot files. So as you can see, my NixOS folder. This is my Git repo. Okay, and let me go ahead and clear the screen. Doing ls. As you can see, I have these .nix files. These are configuration files if you're new to Nix. All right, and then only thing I did was I moved my configuration.nix and I moved my hardware configuration.nix over to this folder. Okay, some people don't do that. Some people keep the configuration.nix and the hardware configuration.nix in the etc folder. I prefer to move it. That way I can keep it in a Git repo. Okay, so let's go ahead and I do got NeoVim set up, so let's go ahead and NeoVim into my configuration.nix. So this is for those of you that's new to NixOS, your configuration.nix is pretty much where you do everything. Okay, so as you can see with the imports, I'm importing the hardware configuration.nix. Okay, so the hardware configuration.nix, that's pretty much all my hardware and stuff like that. As you can see, I am running Grub. Okay, so by default, systemd is a boot manager as well as a system, a init system. So I disabled the systemd boot manager and I prefer Grub simply because Grub is a lot easier to deal with when you're dual booting or triple booting. So that's why I'm using Grub, and you can theme Grub. All right, so this line right here, this boot kernel packages, this line pretty much updates your kernel. I'm not using the same kernel as the ISO came with. I did upgrade to the newest kernel. And then, of course, you can see my host name. So we're using Network Manager, time zone stuff. And then we got my locales and stuff like that. So this is my user. Okay, so my user, Chris, of course, my name, and then the groups that I'm associated with. And then this line right here is telling Nix that I want to run unfree software. So I want to run proprietary software, which I use the proprietary NVIDIA card driver. So I'm pretty sure I have to have this aligned in my configuration anyway in order to run that driver. And you can see we're running X11. There's my NVIDIA driver stuff. I am running unstable. I forgot to mention that. I am running unstable. I tried, when I installed NixOS, I was on the stable branch, okay? But what happened was when I went to install my NVIDIA card proprietary driver, for some reason, the NVIDIA package is kind of broken right now on stable. So I switched to unstable, and the unstable one worked. So you can see right here, the window manager stuff, I have this commented out. But you can see right here, this programs.hyperland.enable equals true. I did try to install Hyperland, but it just doesn't work yet. This So this service.x server window manager xmonad, this is what enables xmonad, or installs xmonad rather. This hardware.keyboard.zsa. So recently, it's not here yet, but recently I ordered a ZSA Moonlander keyboard, and you need this in order to flash the .bin file. So to flash your hardware or your configuration onto the keyboard itself, because it doesn't come it doesn't come pre-configured. You actually have to come up with a layout and flash it yourself, which is pretty cool. All right, so this environments.system packages with packages, this line right here is everything after this is what's installed. So there's a system level and then there's a user kind of level, right? These are all the packages that are installed system level. That means if I had more than one user on the system, these are all the packages that everyone on the system can use, okay? And then I also have packages that only the user can use, or a specific user. In my case, it's only me because I'm the only one on the system. But you know, if you had more than one user on the system, then you can do it like that too. So we just got Vim, PyCon, Nitrogen, Kitty, Alacrity, Firefox, Vivaldi, just your standard kind of programs, Discord, OBS, VLC, you know, Ping Live, Audacity, and then the Wally CLI program, and that's for the keyboard. That's the Flash utility. And then you can see I did have some Wayland stuff right here, but I commented that out. Right here is my fonts. So these are the fonts that I have on the system. And of course, I like having my nerd fonts. These are portals. So these are the XDG portal stuff. And I'm just running the GTK portal. And oh, we got the SDDM login manager going. This is my Pipewire stuff. So I'm using Pipewire, not Pulse Audio. I do run Emacs. You guys know I'm a big Emacs person. And the way I run Emacs is I always run a Emacs daemon, simply because running the Emacs client is a whole lot faster than just constantly running Emacs. This programs.ssh.askpassword, that was I don't know if I still need that, but I was having some Git problems, but I think I fixed that some other way. And then everything else is pretty much commented out except this Nix, you know, settings. So this experimental features, what this does, this enables flakes on the system. By default, NixOS does not come with flakes enabled. You actually have to enable it, and this is how you do it. This auto optimize store and this garbage collection function right here. So what these do is every time that you rebuild your NixOS, it will put a different version. In NixOS, they're called generations. So it will put a new generation into your grub config, right? And that's so that way you can easily roll back the system in case something breaks. Well, I want to delete that stuff if it's older than 5 days, because I don't want to clog up. You know, I don't want to have 50 entries in grub, right? And I don't want to have to do that manually. So this pretty much says, hey, if it's older than 5 days, go ahead and delete those entries, right? And then it also handles some packages and stuff like that. And then the system state, as you can see, I'm running NixOS 23.11. That's that one. Let's go ahead and look at my Flake, because I think that's probably the next thing. So we can do Flake.nix. So Flake, so like I mentioned earlier, a Flake is pretty much a version control system, okay? So you need a description, you need inputs, and you need outputs. So the Nix package URL, this is telling the system, hey, we're going to be running NixOS unstable. And then you got the Home Manager URL, and then this is saying, hey, Home Manager, you're going to be running unstable as well. And then the outputs is pretty much just saying what kind of system I'm running, where to get packages and everything. So it's this line right here is actually going to get packages from this URL right here. This is a real URL. And then this says, hey, what kind of system are we running? Well, we're running x86-64, right? And then the modules part of this is saying, hey, what configuration file are we actually pulling from? So the way this kind of works is that you have that configuration.nix file, right? So let's say I put in whatever program I want to put into the configuration.nix file. Well, that configuration.nix, this Flake will look at that configuration.nix, figure out what program you put in, then it will go up here to this URL. It will download that program, right? And then it installs. The system package manager installs. Essentially, that's kind of how it works. I will make a different Flake video for you guys so we can actually talk about it, and I'll show you how to write a basic Flake. And then this home configurations. So Home Manager with this is Home Manager is it's pretty much it's like your dot files, right? So your dot files, what they are is they're your program's configuration. All right. So this Home.nix, this is all about like the user on this system, right? This controls all of the user stuff. But it works the same exact way that the configuration.nix file works. So in home.nix, you put in a program that you want to install. It goes up here. It says, oh, we want to pull it from right here. And then this goes down to here. And then this says, hey, we're going to follow Nix packages. Well, Nix packages looks right here. And then it installs it. And then there you go. So that's the TLDR about how something like that works. So let's look at the home.nix file next. So home.nix, as you can see, looks pretty basic and pretty much the same. It looks exactly the same as maybe your configuration.nix. There's some differences. Like you can say, hey, this is my home username. This is my home directory. And then these imports right here, what these are doing is you can have modules. So instead of having 1,000 lines or 2,000 lines in a home.manager.nix file, you can break this stuff up. And that's exactly what I did. So this sh.nix file, this is my shelves.nix. This is what controls my shelves. This emacs.nix, that's what controls all my Emacs stuff. And you can break it down to make it more manageable, okay? And I'm a big, I love modularity. I'm huge on modularity. So this is how you make NixOS more modular. So right here, this home.packages with packages, you've already seen this command before, but that does is everything after that command right there, like Rofi, htop, neofetch, flameshot, that's installing the packages, right? Except this is not system wide. So Rofi, htop, neofetch, flameshot, they're not system wide. They're only for the Chris username or Chris, user on the system. If I put my wife on there on my system, she wouldn't have these programs right here. She would have all the other ones that I showed you earlier, but she wouldn't have these. I hope that makes sense. And then you can also do some Nix file type of stuff. And we can have some session variables. And then Nix, the home manager can manage itself. So you just do that like right here. So programs.homemanager enabled equals true. You just let it, manage itself. All right, so let's look at my shells, I guess. We'll look at my shells first. We'll do shells and then sh.nix. So this is all my shell stuff, okay? So you can see what I'm doing right here is I'm making aliases, right? We all like aliases in our shells. So this is my ls alias, this lsd, lh, group directories first, color, icon, okay? All that's doing is when I do ls, that's all it's doing right there, okay? Just like you would have a .zshrc file, this is how you do it in the Nix programming language. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm saying programs.zsh enable equal true. What that does is that installs zsh and enables it on the system. Okay. So just enable auto suggestions. So we want auto suggestions. I do have a .directory just in case we have some like plugins and stuff for ZSH. I don't have any yet, but we can also do that. This enable completions, we want that. And then the shell aliases equals my aliases. So what this is doing, this is telling the Nix language, hey, this option right here, this shell aliases option, what do we want? What aliases do we want? Well, we want the aliases that I said up here, right? And then this init extra neofetch, you know what neofetch is. And then this zoxide init zsh. Zoxide is a faster way to switch directories. I'm going to actually do a video on zoxide because I think it's pretty cool. And then this home.packages with packages. Well, so what's this, right? Because you guys seen it in Configuration.nix, you've seen it in Home.nix, and you've seen it now. So with these programs being modular, what you can do is you can say, hey, I want to install these programs too, right? And because this is my shells.nix file, I want everything that a shell can do. I want to install the programs, that belongs to shells, right? Like, like I want neofetch, I want bat, I want LSD, I want ripgrep, zoxide, starship. I want all this stuff that belongs in the shells kind of category, right? So this installs all these things. Now, if I disabled my shells.nix file, so if I disabled it, then I would also disable all of these programs as well. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, we will get more into all of this stuff later. so I can break it down for you guys. But that's the, that's the TLDR of it. And then the Starship prompt, I do use the Starship prompt, so this is the configuration for it. So we enable it, and then we got some of this stuff going. And this might look familiar to you because some of this stuff is pretty much what's in the starship.toml file, right? Especially this stuff right here. All right, you can put that stuff directly into your home.nix or your modular here, and that's the only thing I've done. And then this is some dev environment stuff. I haven't played around with this too much. I seen another Nix file and they was kind of talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm gonna put it in my configuration as well. So this is just an idea that I kind of stole from someone else. And then let's look at my Emacs config. So this is my Emacs config. It's pretty small. Okay. Now with my Emacs config, I am still running my my regular Emacs config that I was using on Gentoo. Okay. So you can mix and match. So just because you configure stuff using the Nix language, you can still use that those other configuration files. That's what's kind of neat. So I'll show you guys that after I show you this. So what we're doing is we're enabling Emacs. This Emacs 29-GTK3, you need the -GTK package in order to have transparency. And then this extra package, vterm, what this is doing, by default, GCC is not on the system. Okay, the way that NixOS does like programming languages and compiling and stuff like that, it's totally different. But what I'm doing here is I'm telling Emacs, hey, when you install Emacs, install vterm as well, right? Because vterm needs to be compiled in order for it to work. So what I'm doing right here is I'm saying, hey, I want the package manager to install vterm. Okay, so just understand that that's pretty much what I'm doing. And then this extra config, I think I was just playing around right there. All right. So I hope some of that makes sense for you guys, but I do want to show you guys quickly my Emacs config, right? So this is my Emacs. You guys have seen it a million times probably on the channel. All right, same exact thing. And let me show you something else. Okay, so if I do an pwd, if I do an ls -lah, so you can see my where's the zshrc? Well, this ZSH environment, you can see it points to that. It's a symbolic link, and it points to this Nix store. In NixOS, you will see the Nix store. You'll see it a lot, okay? That's pretty much where everything lives here on Nix. And then you can also see, hey, there's my starship.toml file, right? Where does it point to? It points to the Nix store. But I didn't directly make that starship.toml file. That TOML file got made automatically when we installed Starship via Home-Manager, right? And if we go into my ZSH, I think my ZSHRC file should be here as well. And there is my ZSHRC file. So you can see earlier when we told ZSH, hey, the .file directory, I want you to put all your files in the .file directory, right? Well, it did that. And it's right here. However, if we, let's open it real fast. So if we open ZSHRC, it doesn't look like a typical ZSHRC file, right? Like it looks a little different. Not gonna lie. So right, like this is like we have neofetch, but zoxide is kind of a little different, right? And then the aliases is, well, aliases look the same. Zoxide is different, but you can see just how some of this stuff kind of works, and it's totally different. It's really cool stuff. So that is my my NixOS setup. Okay, sorry about the lack of videos here the past couple of weeks. I did do a couple live streams about NixOS. You can check those out. I think they're only a couple hours long, so you can skip through them to kind of see me learning the process. Right now, as far as me switching away from Gen 2, I haven't decided, honestly. I've been having a blast with NixOS, but like I did say, I am running a dual boot with Gen 2. Okay. For some reason, if I decide that, hey, I want NixOS to be my main OS, what I'm going to do is install a virtual machine, and I will put Gen 2 on that virtual machine. Okay. That way I can still make the Gen 2 content, but it just won't be on hardware, you know. So if you guys learned something in the video, please give me a thumbs up. It does help out the channel. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. I do get back to you guys. And until next time, I want you guys to take care, be safe, and peace. Bye, guys.